Our next fight is at light heavyweight, and it's a fight that exists in the Ultimate Fighting Championship in 2021. We have Hurricane Ike Villanueva taking on Mamute Vinicius Moreira. And Matt, for Vinicius Moreira, he got a win on Contender Series way back 2.5 years ago against John Allen. No relation. Picks up a triangle choke win there. Listen, John Allen put on a decent account of himself in his last fight against Roman Dalcha, kind of.
Bad.
So Moreira beats John Allen. Then he gets knocked out by Alonzo Menefield. Then he gets knocked out by Eric Anders. Then he gets submitted by Paul Craig. Then he takes a year and 3 months off, and now he takes on Ike Villanueva. Matt, Ike Villanueva in the UFC got knocked out by Chase Sherman, got knocked out by Jordan Wright. Both of these guys have a combined 5 finished losses in the UFC, and this is a fight in the UFC in 2021 on a card that has a guy that's 3-2. I had to get that all off my chest. These are the hot take sunglasses. Normally I reserve them for Fight Night Picks Early Stoppage, our podcast. You should check that one out. But Matt, this fight's rough.
Hey, someone's always got to go. And not really in a good sense. It's not like Khabib's fighting, Kamaru Usman, and it's going to be a great fight. No, Vinicius Moreira is fighting Ike Villanueva, and we can break down the X's and O's. The issue is both guys have just had X's since they've come into the UFC, and there's not a lot of positives you can really say from either guy. Now, Vinicius Moreira, I always think of him as that guy who got knocked out by Eric Anders and then got stopped by Paul Craig. He's just really been stopped a lot in the UFC, and it's weird for Moreira. Normally you can look at a guy's body of work and you can point to, oh, well, at least in this fight he did have some sort of success, or in that fight he had levels of success. Menefield beat the brakes off him. Eric Anders did the exact same thing, and so did Paul Craig. Like, there hasn't even been a moment throughout his last 3 fights that I'm like, hey, we can really take a lot from that. And you can look through his record, but the fact that he hasn't had really even a good performance in almost 2 years is a little concerning. The fact that he's in the UFC and Yoel Romero is currently fighting in Bellator.
I mean, level competition, I can't harp on this enough. You look at Vinicius Moreira's overall record. Again, yes, 1 win by knockout, 8 wins by submission. So they call him a submission specialist. They have to hype the fight somehow. I have to hype it somehow. Submission
Hopefully
specialist.
We're doing a good job.
Ike Villanueva is a knockout artist, if you want to say that. And I mean, this is a guy that came out of Fury FC. You might be familiar with some of their fighters. I know at the same time that Villanueva was coming into the UFC, Anthony Ivy was coming into the UFC. Neither one of them have had good runs, and they both lost their 2 fights. But I remember when Villanueva was making his debut, it was the fact that he was coming off with 2 first-round finish wins over former UFC competition in Roger Narvaez and Rashad Coulter. Roger Narvaez.
The Daywalker.
And one of the worst nicknames in MMA in the Daywalker, Rashad Coulter. So it's really tricky to try and figure out. Like, even in the losses that Villanueva had on the regional scene, Robert Drysdale, MMA coach, Max Roshkoff, and
Justin
Ledette. He has lost to Ledette and a loss to Trevin Giles. So it's a tricky one to try and figure out. You can boil it down to this, I think. And this is going to be really simple because I wouldn't put a single cent of my hard-earned money on this fight. Vinicius Moreira is a submission specialist. Ike Villanueva, when he loses, and let's bring him up because he's lost 11 times. He got knocked out by Wright while Dr. Stoppage cut, and it was gross. He got knocked out by Chase Sherman. Drysdale submitted him. Ledette submitted him. Drysdale is a world champion jiu-jitsu specialist and a jiu-jitsu coach. Trevin Giles, submission in the 3rd round. Again, his jiu-jitsu is pretty good. His grappling's quite good. Justin Ledette at 205 or 265 pounds. Good. That fight was at 205, so a little bit of an outlier. Ike Villanueva, if he keeps it standing, I think he should be able to beat Vinicius Moreira. And that's about all I have on this one because it's a tricky fight and it's... That's all I have.
This is one of those Kirkland kind of styles make fights.
No. This is like Dollar Tree.
Wow. Oh, fair enough. Kirkland's got some good stuff. Vinicius Moreira, loser goes home. I think we can say that.
Unfortunately, again, you never want to see anybody lose their job, but this is just...
It's like king of the court, though. Like, if you win, you get to stay, and that's how I see this fight. If Ike Villanueva can keep it on the feet, he should be able to win, because from what we've seen out of Vinicius' striking in the UFC, it has not been good. He gets backed into the cage, he concedes ground, and again, these are some of the things you don't talk about in every single fight, but it's something that you do notice with some people. He just gives up space. It's not like he's a Justin Gaethje, where you move forward, he's going to plant his feet and force you to make him move backwards. Vinicius Moreira he's more than happy to just put his back up against the cage, Tyron Woodley style. If Ike Villanueva can defend a few early takedowns, when the explosion, if you will, still is in the takedowns of Moreira, he might be able to keep this fight on the feet and really just beat him up against the cage throughout 3 rounds. I don't have the highest expectations for this fight, but I'll say Ike Villanueva.
Matt, we're both going with Ike Villanueva to get the win, and that's about all I have on this one. The rest of the predictions are incredibly positive. We're looking forward to this card. This is just low-level light heavyweights duking it out for a spot in the roster. So we'll see what happens in this one. Let us know down in the predictions because, again, normally we're a little bit more positive. And we have a great co-main event coming up between Munir Lazzez, Morley Alves, and in our main event, Neil Magny taking on Michael Chiesa. Matt, keep it locked in with Fight Night picks. We always say, let's get into it.